Oh my God. It's the big one. Mount Washington. Hey everybody, Caleb Anderson here, back with another 4,000 footer podcast. I guess it's not really a podcast. I guess it's just me telling you stories about each mountain that I've climbed. I actually have a quick little story about kind of referencing a mountain that we chose last time. Last time we pulled out Owl's Head, and I hadn't done it. So I thought that I would attempt it. And if you go back a couple of videos, you will see I did not do my research. And in the winter, or the spring, I should say, the rivers get extremely high. And there is something called the Black Pond, I believe it's called Black Pond Bushwhack, where it's a cutoff, it's a bypass, so you don't have to cross the river. I don't know how that works, but I guess I did not do enough research. And go back, see that video, subscribe while you're at it, and like this video. And let's pick a new mountain. We've got, how many have we done? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So sweet, we ended on kind of round number here. The more that I'm thinking about it, I feel like I've done more than 40. Like I said, I lost count. I think I've done like 42, maybe 44. We'll see as we keep going. I'm kind of excited to see as I keep going to see which ones I haven't done. So I know I haven't done Zealand. That's way out there. I know I haven't done, obviously, Owl's Head still. But, yeah, hopefully we don't pick one I haven't done out of here. If we do, it always gives me a good incentive to climb that mountain for the next video. So, that's it. Mount Wombec, another one I haven't done. I think my parents have actually done this one. So, this one is up by Lancaster. So, I have an uncle who owns a campground, and Mount Wombec is right in the back there. So it's, I don't know if Mount Wombec is in Lancaster, New Hampshire, but you can definitely see it from Lancaster, New Hampshire. It's right on the Vermont border. It's short. This one, they say 4,006 feet. I know it's a shorter one, but it's a little longer of a trail to get there. I wish I could remember the name of the mountain that's in front of it. It's like Star Pass or something. I could be way off, but yeah, Wombec. That one's in the pipeline for sure. Mount Wiley. Boom. Let me see. So, good story with Mount Wiley. And these are all these videos are down below. If you go into the videos, into my video section and just keep scrolling. I don't have any playlists really set up or anything in my videos, so if you gotta scroll a while back. But there's a video entitled, let's stick this first. But Mount Wiley. So Mount Wiley is normally part of a loop, and the loop is Wiley, Field, and Tom, and usually, where is Mount Wiley? So they say Mount Wiley is 4,255 feet, but that's probably not correct. Where the heck is Mount Wiley? There it is. So I've got this thing leaned up against a wine bottle. That's not very stable. There we go. So Mount Wiley. The story with Mount Wiley goes, let me take a unsolicited sip of tea. We made this plan to me, my cousin Russ, and my friend Jason. We are the original Wolfpack. We made a plan to do the Wiley Loop, which is Wiley, Field, and Tom, and you start in Crawford Notch, and it's a beautiful area, Crawford Notch, where you start in all these trailheads. And but I actually rented a car for that trip because I didn't want to take my truck. It's Crawford Notch, so it's like 2.5 hours. And the plan was to do the loop and rock climb. We had recently gotten rock climbing gear, and my cousin Russ and I had the rock climbing gear, and I had rope, and I had this huge, still have it, 300-foot rope, and all my climbing gear and stuff. So we were gonna find some climbing areas to climb on our way, or rappel, or anything kind of like that. Well, I skipped out on I didn't bring a normal pack. I had this pack that I carried my rope in because the rope was so huge. It weighs like 20 pounds. So I keep it in a dry bag if I'm hiking with it. I put it in this dry bag, so then I didn't have much room to put other things. And my cousin forgot his climbing stuff. So now I had no real backpack because I had my climbing rope and everything. And I forgot food. I forgot to stop. I think I either forgot my food or I forgot to stop or something. But I couldn't use the pack. I don't know why. I couldn't use the pack that I had put my rope in. Don't ask me why. So I couldn't carry any water, and I had no water. So I had like whatever bottles of water I could hold, and whatever snacks. I had a couple snacks that I could fit in my pockets. And I didn't sleep well the night before, and the only thing getting me up there was the fact that I was going to go rock climbing, and I did not go rock climbing, and I was totally pissed off. So this was one of Caleb's annoyed bitch moments, and we were still gonna do the loop, and we got to the top of Wiley, and I was like, I quit. I quit. I'm going back. I'm not doing 2 more 4,000 footers. Back in these days, doing one 4,000 footer for us was a big deal. For me, it was a big deal back in those days. And we're talking like 4 or 5 years ago. So, we would do, and still do. It's considerable, and don't take this the wrong way, anybody. But a 4,000 footer, doing one is a normal day's hike. Now, we like to push it 2 or 3 or 4 or 11 in one push. But, it's a big deal to do 3 of them. Especially, I don't know how long that loop is. I think it's like 13 miles maybe. And back in those days, I hadn't done 13 miles yet. So I was just not prepared. But I knew I wasn't prepared. So we did Wiley, and I quit. I wimped out. That's all on the video. Like I said, go back to the videos and scroll down. And it says, it's something like going hiking with no food or something like that. It was terrible. And I apologize to the wolf pack. I apologize. I'm going to probably just do one more here, depending on which one it is. Oh my God. It's the big one. Mount Washington. Look at the exact height on this. I guess they couldn't fudge it on Mount Washington. 6,288 feet. It is I used to think it was the tallest mountain this side of the Mississippi, but in fact, there's some pretty big mountains in North Carolina that I didn't know. Around the same height, but 6,000 feet. So Mount Washington. Definitely only going to do one more now. I can't get the plastic off. There we go. Mount Washington. Mount Washington. The big guy, we call him. I think of Mount Washington as our staple. pretty much. You know, like a lot of people, I think I'm a little too young to really have an attachment to the Old Man on the Mountain. And a lot of people that are just a little younger than I am have no idea what the Old Man on the Mountain was. But Mount Washington, to me, will always be there, and obviously, will always be there and always has been there. But books and movies have been made about this place. Worst weather in the world. Worst weather in the world. I didn't say that wrong. For anybody who doesn't know, it has consistently the worst weather in the world. It has a total of, I think it has an average of 60 days a year that are clear. The rest are socked in to some extent. It snows in the winter. I mean, obviously it snows in the winter, but it snows in the summer. It is known to be dangerous. People have died within 100 feet, 100 yards, 200 yards of the hut. There's huts there's a building on top. I think there's a seasonal hut maybe on the top, but then there's lakes in the clouds. There's also Hermit Pond, Hermit Lake, whatever it is, on Tuckerman's with lean-tos on it. There's probably a couple other ones that I'm not familiar with, of places that are manned. I believe Tuckerman's is manned year-round. Lakes in the Clouds closes down in the winter. And then there's got to be some other ones that I'm missing. But like I said, it's nothing to be messed with, and I think most people realize that. Most people know that. I've seen some crazy things on Mount Washington. Going to Mount Washington. On the way to Mount Washington. We've gone around Mount Washington many times, doing a semi-prezi loop, just because it's so giant. Call it the rock pile, and it's literally that. It's literally made out of boulder size rocks for like the last 2 to 3 miles up. One of my biggest videos, one of my most highest viewed videos, is doing the Huntington Ravine Trail. It's entitled, you scroll back and see that one, it's entitled, and I'll put a tag for it up here. It's entitled, Climbing the Most Dangerous Trail in the White Mountains, in the Northeast actually, Huntington Ravine Trail. Huntington Ravine Trail goes up kind of the middle of Mount Washington, to the right of Tuckerman's and to the left of Kings Ravine, I believe. Kings Ravine might be on the other side, on the Ammonoosuc side. But I have so many experiences up at Mount Washington that I can't think of just one. From the first time with my class, our class trip was hiking Mount Washington, staying at Lakes in the Clouds hut. I've hiked it by myself. I've gone up and driven. There's the auto road that's seasonal, obviously, for obvious reasons. And I've driven up the auto road with my family, my son, when he was very little. Mount Washington holds a lot of aura with it. And you think of it as, it's hard to not be gatekeeper-ish, like the hippies say nowadays, but you think of Mount Washington as yours once you're up there all the time. And I know there's a lot of people who go there a lot, love the Presidential Range. I don't necessarily love the Presidential Range. Every time I climb Mount Washington, I don't really want to do it again. You scroll back to my 1,000 subscriber special. Me and Christopher went and hiked Mount Washington in less than 6 hours. Might have been less than 5 hours. It was right around 5 hours. And tons of experiences like that. What's one that I can think of? I don't know if I've told this story. So I'm gonna end it with this last story. So Jason and I had this plan to go up. This is a long story. I don't know if I have time for this. We're gonna do it. So Jason and I had a plan to go up, and there's another. Oh, we already did Jefferson. I'm not sure if I told this story, but we went up the Six Husbands Trail. We camped underneath the Six Husbands Trail. The next day, we went up the Six Husbands Trail with heavy packs, full camping gear, everything. We got to the top of Jefferson, and it was completely socked in. And our plan was to go over to Mount Washington, and then down to the bottom, back down to Pinkham Dodge Lodge. Pinkham, whatever it is. Joe Dodge Lodge. So we got to the top of Jefferson, and it was completely socked in. And when I say socked in, it was like the clouds get stuck up there, so there's this precipitation. So it's not just like it's a fog, it's like raining, but it's not. It's like you're stuck in a rain cloud. It's like you're stuck in a rain cloud, which you are. And you're getting wet, and it's cold, and it was August. The day before, we were sweating our asses off. And then the very next day, we had winter hats, hoodies, and so we got up to the top of Jefferson, and we were making our way over, and it was so socked in that it was one of my first times, I believe, having to navigate using cairns. We would get to one cairn and then look and see where the next cairn was and get to that cairn, and then look and see where the next one was and get to that cairn, and always be cautious if we felt ourselves going down, left or right. It was a pretty intense situation. And there's not much cell phone service up there. So I had texted my father that we had stopped once. We were making our way, slowly but surely we're making our way, having fun while doing it, yeah, you're in a life or death situation if something goes bad. But while nothing's going bad, it's intense, it's fun, it's like exciting, So we're excited, we're having fun. We hunkered down once to eat and have a drink, and I texted my father that weather was bad heading from Jefferson to Mount Washington, which was the dumbest thing I could have done. Because it didn't go through for like 2 hours or something until we got to Mount Washington. So that hadn't gone through. So on the way, we ended up coming up the Six Husbands Trail. You go through these caves, and I lost a water bottle. This is back in my water bottle days. I didn't have a Camelback. I had water bottles, big liter water bottles, and I lost one. So I ran out of water, like near the summit of Jefferson. So I was just hoping for some sort of spring, or I don't know what I was going to do. What I was planning on was just pushing to Mount Washington and getting water up there, because there's always water. We knew the summit was open because it was August. We were locked in a storm, whiteout storm in winter gear, but it was August, so we knew that the summit was manned. We knew there would be people there. So as we were making our way across, I had no water, and Jason was sharing his water with me, and finally he ran out of water. And so now we both don't have water. And like a shining light, the clouds parted for a second, and this giant rock is there in front of us. And it's completely flat on the top, except it's got this divot in this little divot. It was probably like 4 feet around, maybe. This divot in the top of this big flat rock. And from all the precipitation, there was this crystal clear water. And it was like glacier water. It was absolutely beautiful. And you could see it as you were coming down. And then the clouds would come in. So I was like, did you just see that? There's water there. I jumped up and I looked in, and so I did the finger test, and I dragged my finger in on the bottom, because a lot of times, you know, if that's a puddle that's there all the time, the sediment will settle on the bottom of the puddle, and it'll appear that it's clean, but there's like a 1/4 inch of crap on the bottom. Well, nothing was on the bottom. It was rock. So this puddle was formed from this precipitation. So we were good for it. So put my face right in it and drank a bunch of it. This is after like an hour of hiking and not having any water, and strenuous hiking. And we filled what water bottles we had. I had one water bottle left, but it was empty. And Jason filled his 2 water bottles. And so that thing was like a savior. We made it. It's a joke. Russ always says to me and Jason that we probably got some disease, but it was the clearest, most beautiful tasting water. And that may have been because we were, you know, pushing our limits and on the side of a mountain, but it was the greatest water I've ever drank. Or drunk. Drunk? Whatever. Anyways, so then we got to the summit of Mount Washington, and there was like tour buses of people. It was still socked in, so everybody was inside. We sat down. we looked like, you know, like we had just climbed through a mountain in a storm, a winter storm in the summer, which we had just done. And that's when my text went through to my father. But then my phone died. So we ate and continued on. It was probably another 2.5, 3 hours before we would get down to the bottom. And then, man, maybe another 2 hours after that is when I got my phone plugged in and got service, and had all these calls and texts from my father, because all he got was that one text that said weather was bad, heading to Washington. And now we're like 6 hours past that, and I hadn't responded to any of his texts. The phone had died. So he was like calling my cousin Russ and my wife and everybody. They were getting a search party ready. It was a big thing. So he was happy to hear me call. My wife. It was actually my wife. I called my wife, and she was like, "Oh my God!" It was worst case scenario turned around to best case scenario. Like, oh my God, they're missing in a storm on Mount Washington. To we found them. They're fine. We're fine. We're fine. So that's the story I choose to tell about Mount Washington. There's many more. Last time we were up there, there was a line a mile long of people who had driven up and wanted to take a picture with the summit sign. So we cut the line and ran in and said our turn and took a picture and ran away. Pissed some people off, but yeah, that was the last time I was there. That's when we were doing the Prezi Traverse. So also check out that video. Anyways, yeah, that was a good one. That was a good one to end on. Again, join me here I don't know when I'll be back doing these. I like to, whenever I get a second, I don't really get much time to do this, but when I do, I like to sit down and reminisce on these mountains. And we're getting there now. We got 12. Now we got 12 out of the 42, 43, 44 that I've done. So we're getting there. And yeah, subscribe, like, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one.